Alright, I've got my cloth for my teddy bear. When cloth is made, it has selvage on the left or right side, and the selvage is like the machine piece of cloth. So it's like the manufacturer's edge on the right and left side. I'm pointing this out because it has to do with how you lay down your pattern. First of all, I mentioned this: buy 1 yard of whatever fabric you're going to make the teddy bear. And that's a little bit extra, like 1/4 of a yard extra, in case you really mess up with tracing your patterns. Like you trace 4 legs just going in the same direction or something, instead of 2 going like this, 2 going like that, which you're supposed to do. And this fabric kind of has a very, like a frayed side edge to it. Your patterns all have this double-ended arrow, and you're supposed to line up that arrow so that it's parallel with the selvage or the side machine side edge of the cloth, the manufacturer's edge. It has to be parallel, especially when you're dealing with fabrics that have stripes, with plaids, not so much fabrics that have like polka dots evenly throughout it, or just solid color fabrics. You don't really have to worry too much about that. But especially with some sort of a pattern like this, because you don't want your pattern to be going in all different directions all over your bear. That would look bad. So when you line up your pieces, you have to line them up so that this double-sided arrow is parallel with the selvage of your fabric. Also, you don't want to waste your fabric. Fit the pieces together so that there is very little space between the pieces. There should be a little bit of space, but not a whole lot of space. And most importantly, a good tip is also take your fabric and fold it in half so that you cut once and you get 2 pieces. And the 2 pieces that you cut, one piece will be going this way and the other piece will be going that way. Most likely when your pattern asks for 2 pieces, see this where it says cut 2, it is asking for you to cut 2 pieces that are going this way, and then 1 piece that's going the mirror opposite way, like this. This is the back of the bear's body back, so there's like half of the back, and here's the other half of the back, so you have to flip it this way. But if you fold the cloth and then you trace it and then you cut it all out at one time while the cloth is folded, you'll get 2 pieces, and one will be flipped the other way, which will save on a lot of time. You may still have to flip the pattern over and then trace the triangles and the necessary little marks like circles and things like that, but most of your cutting is done for you. I think the hardest part of sewing is really just the grunt work, which is tracing the pattern and cutting out all the pieces out of the cloth. The sewing and the putting together and figuring out the construction part, that's the fun part. The selvage on this plaid fabric that I have folded in half is at the very top. So I'm going to lay all my pattern pieces like so that the arrows are parallel to your selvage. Patterns also come with directions, so make sure you read through the directions and read the most important parts of the directions that actually have to do with constructing the bear. This particular pattern came with clothes for the bear, but I'm not making clothes for this bear. I just want to make the bear itself. But in the beginning of this pattern packet that comes with the envelope with all the pattern pieces in it, there's some very basic, good basic information. It even shows you how to line up your pieces with the fabric folded to get the maximum use out of your fabric with the least amount of waste. So somebody actually sat there and figured out how to get the most out of your fabric with as little waste as possible. List all the little pieces of the pattern on there and what direction you should lay that in. Okay, so if you look on your pattern directions, I notice that my students hate to read directions, but directions are very, very important. You should read directions and learn to read directions. The right side or the good side of your fabric is shaded darker. The wrong side, that's the side where you do most of your sewing on, or the rough side of the fabric is usually a lighter color, or it's usually different. Like let's say the texture is less pronounced or something on that side. Some fabrics, like this kind of woolen fabric that I have, is the same on the one side, on the back side as the front, so I don't have to worry about that. For my purposes, I'm going to put my pattern pieces together. I'm just going to lay them down and try to figure out a way to lay them down while minimizing waste. And I could use the directions that are provided here, or I could just, do it using my own common sense. It's up to me. I'm sure that they do it better. So with this pattern, you're going to need at least 2 of everything. And with the legs and the arms, you're going to need 4. So you need 2 pieces of the foot facing one way and 2 pieces going the other, because the leg is constructed of a right side and a left side. And the arm piece, which looks like this, also has like the inside of the arm and the outside of the arm piece. So there's 2 pieces per arm. So you need 2 going this way and 2 going that way. So what I would recommend you do is, after you trace the arm piece, lift it up and trace one more set. Now this is the head center. You only need 1 piece for that, so you might want to just trace that on a single layer of cloth at the very end. There's no need for you to cut out 2 of those. The ears, you have like the inside of the ears, or the front of the ears, and the back of the ears. So you're going to have to cut 4 of these. Place this down on the fabric, trace it twice. So you're going to unpin it, because we're going to use these pins to lay these pattern pieces down so that they don't move on us when we go tracing them and with the Sharpie marker. Some people who sew might say, Sharpie marker? No, that's going to bleed through your fabric. So what I recommend is you just trace the outside of the pattern and some of the little marks, but do not write cut for, do not write arm. Hold on to your pattern so that you can identify. If you don't know what an arm looks like, it's kind of obvious, but if you don't remember what that particular shape was supposed to be, just refer back to your original pattern pieces. So don't lose those. Don't lose those. So when you pin something, and you may never have used dress pins before, you put the dress pin in both layers of fabric, and then the point has to come back out. That's how you pin. You just don't put the pin in. That doesn't do anything. So when you pin something, make sure you put the point of the pin in and then bring it back out. I have a Sharpie. You could use any kind of permanent ink marker if you want. Some people don't like to do that. Whatever you wish to use. If you have like a sewing type of dressmaker's chalk, you can use that, or some sort of disappearing ink marker, anything like that. But my students are beginners, So I don't want to make things that complicated. Remember I told you to mark the little triangles, okay? And I also said mark the circles. So I'm going to have the marker bleed through, and then I'm going to draw a big circle where there's a big circle underneath a big circle, and I'm going to draw a small circle underneath where I see a small circle. There's a small circle there, so I lifted that corner and drew a little small circle. So we needed 2 sets of legs here. So that means I'm going to have to unpin this leg and then draw another set of legs. Maybe I'll put it right here or over here, but just so that I don't waste. Remember not to cut out the triangles. So I want you to just mark the triangles, but just make that solid. So make that just a straight cut. Do not cut out little triangular cuts like that, or you might have little holes everywhere. So those little triangles are just marks that help you match up this leg part or tell you some other piece of information. In this case, it means do not sew between these 2 triangles, because you're going to stuff the part of the leg here, right here, between the 2 triangles. You're going to leave an open hole, and you're not going to sew, but you are going to sew on the other side of the triangles. So that's what that means. This triangle is where you attach the bottom or the sole of the bear's feet. Okay, I've cut out all the pieces of fabric from the pattern. You should have 4 pieces for the arms, front and back, 4 pieces for the legs, front and back. If you do not, then you need to go back and recut more. And I have nearly 2 pieces for everything else except for the middle center of the head. That is the only piece in this pattern that only has a single piece. So in our next video, I'm going to show you how to construct the bear's head using the side of the face piece that looks like this and the center front face piece that looks like this. Looks like a big tongue. So just these 2 pieces, and then eventually we'll construct the ears as well. That's a part of the head too. Oh, and one more piece. The two more pieces actually for the back of the head. So it's a 3-dimensional form, so the bear has the back of the head as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different shapes that apply. And then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces to construct the whole head. So 9 pieces to construct just the head.